Hey everybody, I'm Archie, I'm an alcoholic. I'd appreciate if somebody lets me know the time too, because I'm not real great at keeping up with time, not my strong suit. My sobriety date is September 3rd, 1987. And my home group is the Crutchfield Group in Durham, North Carolina. And it's funny, being here, I hadn't been to a convention in a while. And I remember the first time I came to one, I was so amazed because I saw all these people and they were all sober and they were having a good time. And I thought, this thing is really big, you know. I'd been used to my little home group, and I got sober in Chapel Hill, and I was just used to, you know, the people I knew there. And when I came here, it was just this eye-opening experience for me, and it's been eye-opening ever since, really. I also went to some international conventions, and that's a whole nother, you know, amazing thing to see when the coffee line is longer than the bar line, you know. That's always fun. Anyway, I was sitting out on my porch this morning, and I was trying to think of condensing 30-some years into 15 minutes. And I was trying to meditate on that and write some, and then my neighbor next door started doing some work, and it got loud out there. I couldn't sit out there. And so instead of getting mad about it, I moved inside. And I thought, you know, when things happen, like things don't work the way I want them to, things don't go the way I want them to, you know, I don't have to get all angry and upset about it anymore. It used to be that, you know, just little things like that would have torn me up. But I'll just, you know, kind of give you where I come from. I come from a real small town above Charlottesville, Virginia. And I was born into, and my dad was an alcoholic, and I come from a long line of alcoholics. But I also know, and I've learned this because I used to blame my father for just about everything. I think that it didn't matter where I grew up, that was going to happen, that I was going to be an alcoholic, because the only difference it made was I could get the booze easily at my house. It was right there. My father always had a good stock of bourbon, and that's what I drank. And of course, I was never going to be like him. You know, that was not going to happen. The first time I got drunk, I remember more than anything just that feeling of release, and that I could be in my own skin, and that it didn't matter whatever else was going on, that I was okay. And I sought that feeling for, you know, until I got here, really. Looking for somebody or something to fill that hole, you know, which I've heard other people talk about. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but if I could just get enough alcohol, then I would be okay, you know, then everything would be all right. And I grew up in sort of an isolated area, and I was the only girl, 4 older brothers. So feeling a little different was always part of the deal for me. And I think it is for the rest of us. I mean, that's the thing about AA, was once I got here and I heard y'all talking about how you had felt and your drinking, I knew I was in the right place. You know, I just knew it, because I had not heard anybody talk about that before. People, you know, just didn't talk about that stuff, especially people that I was, you know, that I was drinking with. So I went away to boarding school. My dad sent all of the kids away to school, and my drinking increased. I found the people who partied the way I did, and I was good at being under the radar. I had learned that from home. I knew how to lie low and keep a low profile. I got really good at lying and acting, you know, the whole double life of, I was a good student. I knew how to, you know, I knew how to clean up. I knew how to be in front of people. But on this other end, I was, you know, just looking for a way to just get out of the life I was in. If I could just be somebody else. And part of that too was if I could find the right relationship. Pretty soon it became finding the right guy to fill this hole. When I think of parts of my drinking that really stand out, one in particular is my graduation night from boarding school, which I had looked forward to for 4 years that I'd been there. I went to a party that a friend of mine was having, and parents were invited, so my mom and dad were there. And we were leaving the party. I was in the back seat, my mom and dad were in the front, and my father was driving. And my father, he and I got into an argument, and when I drank, I got angry, I got nasty, I said everything I thought, which I wouldn't say normally. And he and I got in it, and I threatened to jump out of the car. Now, my last drunk involves a car too, which I really didn't put together until this morning. When I was preparing for this, I was like, there's something about cars. But, I threatened to jump out of the car, and my mother, as usual, was trying to calm us down. And that was also a theme for me, was, getting in fights with people when I drank. I went on to college and quickly moved off campus, found, my brother was living in this house with all these other guys and his girlfriend, and I moved in with them, and the party was on. And occasionally I would go to class, and I never thought about how much money my father was putting into the school. I went to Guilford and Greensboro. And quickly I found, alcohol determined who I hung out with, who my friends were, whoever I was dating. Of course, who dated, I always took hostages. You just move people into their house, or you move into their house. And I quickly found a man who drank the way I drank. And he drank bourbon too. And we decided to get married. Because, actually because my brothers were getting married, and it was looking like it was, my time was running out, and I needed to get this show on the road. And so I had, like a good alcoholic, I planned the whole thing. I arranged when he would propose to me and all this stuff. And we fought like cats and dogs. It was an abusive relationship. I stayed in it because I was looking for that security, this person is somehow going to fix everything for me. We moved to Chapel Hill, and he was going to graduate school. And my last drunk was also in the car. We were going out to this dance club in Chapel Hill, and I got mad at him because he wouldn't dance with me, and I was drunk as all get out and could hardly stand up on the floor. And not somebody you really want to be, dancing with. And so I, got angry at him. We got in the car. And another note is that for somehow or another, I never got arrested for drunk driving, and I never hit or killed anybody, which I am grateful for. I did run over a cat, but other than that, I always felt kind of bad about that. But anyway, we fought in the car, and I was driving the car, and I have a clear memory. It's funny about blackouts, and I know y'all know about this. Like, you come in, and all of a sudden you're in Greensboro, or you come in and you're, so I come in, and I'm driving off the hill, taking him home, and just like, I'm just going to, do away with both of us. I'm tired of fighting with him. I'm tired of this life. And I look over, and I see this look of terror in his eyes, and I know I've got him, which is really sick, but that's where I was. And so I said, okay, well, I won't do this. I put the car back up on the road and went to his house, his apartment, And then we ended up back at my apartment, and this is, when I look back on my life and in sobriety, I realized that the hand of God was there, but I didn't know that's what it was, I didn't have any idea of that. I'd long ago thought God was some nice idea, nice, that's nice for you guys, but pie in the sky. I don't buy it. And because you had to prove stuff to me. And I remember getting up that morning, and I had bought a pretty white dress, and it was crumpled on the floor. And I was trying to piece the night together the way we do, try to figure out what I said, what I did, who I hurt. And I went into the bathroom, and I didn't talk about this moment for a long time in sobriety because I thought people would think I was nuts, even you guys, And I thought y'all were nuts too, but I looked in the mirror and I heard something say to me, "You can't keep doing this anymore." And a woman who sponsored me for a long time, who I later realized God was working through, said to me, "That is, the window that opens. It opens for just a moment. And some people walk through that window and some people don't. I don't know why I walked through that window. I know I had a lot of God's grace, and there were a lot of things I did in early sobriety that were not suggested. And I went to my first meeting. The other part of this is with God moments. My brother I'm closest to had gotten sober in AA, so I knew about AA. And I went to a meeting, Binkley Baptist Church, and I was trying to find my way in to figure out where it was, and I saw these people in the back of the church as usual, with smoke coming up, everywhere. And I got there late, of course, and sat in the back and listened to the meeting, picked up a white chip because I was good at picking up social cues, and that looked like what you were supposed to do. Had really no idea what I was doing. And as I was leaving the room, a woman who became my sponsor stopped me at the door. And she asked if I could sit down and, have a cup of coffee with her. And, I had nowhere to go. And I will never forget that moment because that made all the difference. If she hadn't been at that door, I don't know if I would be here. I don't know if I had another chance. And I used to think that was her, but what I realized was it was this power that we all get to give, that it is an honor to be here because I never thought I would be here. I remember meeting like Elena and Donna B and other people in my home group and Michael, and they had like 5 years sober, and I thought that was impossible. How do you do that? That's insane. But she sat and talked to me, and she said, "Okay, here's what you can do. You can give this thing a shot. Give it, 30 days, and if you don't like it, you want to go back, go right ahead. But give it 30 days." And so I did. And since then, it's been one day at a time. And I feel like I put most of my time into early sobriety, but when I think about the time since that time that I got here, it's been taking the actions that were taught to me when I first got here, that does never change. That I read the big book, and I go through the big book with my sponsees, and I talk to my sponsor, and I go to meetings. I have a home group. I'm active in my home group. I show up. No matter what, that's what I was taught. And the last thing I'll say is I too am grateful. There's one old timer who made a big difference in my life that I met when I was 4 years sober, and he said, "Well, when you're 10 years sober, you graduate from kindergarten." And I was like, "Oh boy, that's great to hear." But he walked the talk. It wasn't just what he said. I just would watch him, And that's how I learned a lot, and I know each of us have. It's not what people say, it's what they're doing. And I really appreciate being able to be here with y'all today. And thanks.